Hello and welcome back to another deep dive. We're really glad you could join us today. This is the place for you, the learner, if you're keen to really get under the skin of a topic quickly and thoroughly, but without feeling, swamped.
Absolutely. It's great to be here again. So what are we digging into today? It looks like something pretty fundamental.
It is. Today, it's all about action verbs in English. Our main source is a transcript from a YouTube video. The channel is English Queen, and the video is called 200 Action Verbs in English with Sentences Action Verbs for Beginners Daily Sentences.
Okay, 200 verbs. That's quite a list. Sounds like it's aimed at beginners based on the title.
Yeah, seems that way. And look, 200 is a lot, right? So our mission today isn't to just read out 200 verbs and sentences. That wouldn't be much of a deep dive.
No, not exactly engaging. So what's the plan?
Well, we want to use this list as a starting point. Unpack it. See what kinds of actions are included, how they're grouped implicitly, maybe what the list tells us about everyday English and how we describe what we do.
Right. So using the list to understand the bigger picture of action verbs, what categories emerge, what does the selection itself tell us? I like it. It's like linguistic archaeology on a YouTube transcript.
Exactly. A bit less dusty, perhaps. So first impressions, looking at this collection, the sheer variety is the first thing that hits you, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's a real mix. You've got the obvious ones, things like movement, running, walking, jumping, stuff we do all the time.
Mm-hmm. And communication verbs jump out, too. Reading, writing, speaking, those seem like big categories straight away.
Definitely. And then sort of verbs linked to emotions, like laughing, crying, smiling. They're actions, but they express feelings.
Yeah, that's a good distinction. And then there's a lot of really practical, everyday stuff. Cooking, cleaning, working. The bread and butter actions, maybe.
Sort of the daily grind verbs. Yeah. I think just making these rough initial groups, movement, communication, emotion, practical tasks, helps get a handle on the scope, doesn't it?
It does. It shows it's not just random. It covers a lot of bases of, being human, I guess.
Pretty much. It's a snapshot of basic human activity filtered through the lens of beginner English vocabulary. So it tells us what actions are considered perhaps most fundamental or common for someone starting out.
That's an interesting angle. So let's dive into one of those categories properly. How about we start with locomotion and movement? That seems pretty basic.
Good starting point.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the list has running, walking, jumping. What else falls in there?
Well, there's skipping, crawling.
Okay, so differences there. Running and walking pace and effort, mainly. Jumping and skipping, similar mechanics, but like you hinted at earlier, skipping feels more playful.
Yeah, definitely lighter. Jumping could be functional, like jumping over something, or emotional, like jumping for joy. Skipping feels almost exclusively like a leisure or childhood activity,
True. And crawling, usually associated with babies, or maybe moving stealthily, or when injured. Context is everything, even with these basic movement verbs.
Absolutely. Then the list expands, right? It includes verbs where we interact more with the environment or use tools, like swimming.
Right. Swimming needs water. Sliding needs a surface, maybe a playground slide or ice. Skateboarding, cycling, they need equipment.
Driving, flying, riding, all involve vehicles, or, animals in case of riding sometimes.
Yeah, like riding a bicycle, riding a scooter is mentioned, I think. It shows how our movement often relies on technology or specific settings. It's not just our own bodies moving in a void.
That's a great point. It reflects our developed world, doesn't it? We don't just walk, we drive, we cycle, we fly. Our action verbs have evolved with us.
They have to. And each carries a different connotation. Flying implies speed, distance, maybe expense. Cycling might suggest leisure, exercise, or eco-consciousness. Driving is often about necessity, commuting.
So much packed into a single word. What about the smaller movements? The list has things like bending, bowing.
Yes. Bending could be to pick something up, or stretching. Bowing, that's got huge cultural weight, hasn't it? Respect, greeting, apology. Depends where you are.
Definitely not just a simple physical action in many contexts.
Yep.
Then there's turning left, spinning, rolling.
Navigational or descriptive of motion. Spinning could be playful dizziness or a mechanical action. Rolling could be a ball or a person rolling down a hill or rolling dough. Again, context.
It always comes back to context.
Yeah.
Waving, pointing, these feel very communicative, even though they're physical movements.
They absolutely are. Gestures, waving hello or goodbye. Pointing to draw attention to something specific. These are fundamental interaction tools. We use them instinctively.
It's interesting how many of these movement verbs lead into communication or interaction.
Well, language and action are deeply intertwined, aren't they? How we move often communicates something, intentionally or not. Think about posture, even. That's a state achieved through muscle action.
True. Okay, let's formally shift to that communication and expression category. The list gives us reading, writing, studying.
The sort of information processing verbs, maybe? Reading and writing are about encoding and decoding language. Studying is about deeper engagement with information.
And then the more direct verbal stuff, speaking the baseline, perhaps.
Yeah, the neutral term. Then you get variations in volume and intensity. Shouting, screaming.
Right. Shouting could be anger, excitement, or just trying to be heard over noise. Screaming often implies fear or intense pain, maybe extreme excitement. Much stronger connotations.
Definitely. And at the other end, whispering. Suggests secrecy, intimacy, maybe fear of being overheard.
It's like a volume dial for communication, isn't it? The verb choice tells you where the dial is set.
Exactly. It bundles the action and the manner together very efficiently. What about singing? That's on the list too.
Ah, yes. Verbal, but usually musical and expressive. Could be performance, personal enjoyment, cultural ritual. Lots of possibilities.
And speaking of expression, the list includes nonverbal actions too, right? You mentioned laughing, crying, smiling earlier.
Yes. Laughing, crying, smiling, smirking. That's an interesting one. Smirking.
It is. It's a smile, but often implies smugness or finding something funny in a slightly mocking way, maybe disbelief. It's complex.
Very. Unlike a simple smile, which is usually positive. An yawning, clear signal of tiredness or boredom. Pouting displeasure. Sulking, often associated with children, but adults do it too.
They do. And nodding agreement or acknowledgement usually. Winking conspiracy, joking, flirting sometimes. So much information conveyed without a sound.
It's a whole silent language running alongside our spoken one. These action verbs capture bits of it.
And crucially, the list includes the receptive side of communication too. Listening, seeing, watching.
Right, because communication isn't just transmitting, it's receiving. What's the nuance there, seeing versus watching?
Well, seeing is the basic physical sense, isn't it? Light hitting your retina, it can be quite passive. I see a tree.
Okay, and watching?
Watching implies focus, attention, duration. You watch television, you watch a football game, you watch someone doing something. There's intent behind it.
I see. So seeing is perception, watching is observation, maybe.
That's a good way to put it, yeah. And similarly with hearing versus listening, hearing is the physical sense, detecting sound waves.
But listening is paying attention, trying to understand.
Exactly. You might hear traffic noise, but you listen to a conversation or listen for a specific sound. It's active engagement.
That makes sense. So these verbs highlight that perception itself can be an action, an active process.
Definitely. You choose what to watch, what to listen to. Okay, what's next on our list of categories? Physical interaction.
Yeah, let's look at that. This feels very hands-on. Verbs like touching, rubbing.
Touching is quite general, isn't it? It could be anything from a light tap to a sustained contact. Rubbing implies friction, movement back and forth.
Then shaking hands. That's a very specific cultural ritual, mostly for greetings or agreements.
Hugely culturally loaded, yes. The firmness, the duration, eye contact, all part of the action. Then there's pinching, squeezing.
Pinching usually implies causing a little pain or taking a small amount of something. Squeezing involves pressure, like squeezing a sponge or squeezing someone's hand.
Right. And holding hands expresses connection, intimacy, support. Kissing, hugging, even stronger expressions of affection or greeting, depending on the context and culture.
It's interesting how many of these physical interactions are about social bonding.
A huge part of it, yes.
Yeah.
Physical touch is fundamental to human connection, and our language reflects that with specific verbs.
Okay, still in physical interaction, but maybe more with objects. The list has chopping, folding.
Right. Chopping forceful, usually with a tool like a knife or axe. Cutting things into smaller pieces. Folding implies bending something, usually fabric or paper, neatly.
Plunging. That sounds quite dramatic.
It does. Moving something downwards forcefully, often into liquid. Plunging a toilet or plunging into water.
Okay. Lifting, carrying basic actions of moving objects against gravity.
Yes, fundamental. Lifting is the initial upward movement. Carrying is transporting it over a distance. Then throwing and catching a pair, often used in games.
Yeah, bowl games immediately come to mind. Requires coordination. Clipping nails or paper.
Seems likely. Using clippers or scissors for a quick cut. Clapping, bringing hands together to make noise, usually applause or rhythm.
Snapping like snapping fingers, a quick, sharp sound.
Could be fingers or snapping a twig. Implies breaking suddenly or making that sound. Picking up, similar to lifting, maybe more casual. Taking something from a surface.
So lots of verbs for manipulating objects in very specific ways. It shows how dexterous we are, or need to be.
It does. Our hands are incredibly versatile tools, and we have lots of verbs to describe what they can do. What about verbs involving more force?
Yes. Pushing and pulling fundamental forces. Moving things away from you or towards you.
The opposing actions, yeah. Often require effort. Kicking using the foot or leg to strike something.
Usually forceful, can be aggressive or part of a sport, like kicking a ball. Fighting, that's a very direct verb for conflict.
It is. Physical confrontation. It can encompass a range of actions, hitting, kicking, grappling, but fighting is the overall verb.
Okay, so that covers a lot of the ways we interact physically. Shall we move on to the really common daily activities? Like self-care and basic needs.
Sounds like a good plan. The list must have verbs for eating and drinking, surely.
Oh yeah. Eating, drinking, the absolute basics. Also feeding, which implies giving food to someone else, like a baby or an animal.
Right. And then, well, the less glamorous side effects are listed too. Burping, farting.
Uh-huh. Yes,
Yeah.
They're in there. Bodily functions. I guess it makes the list feel comprehensive, grounded in reality.
Perhaps. And tasting, using the sense of taste, which is closely linked to eating.
True. Okay, then cleanliness and hygiene. This seems like a big group in the source. Washing is mentioned multiple times.
Is it? Like washing hands, washing face.
Exactly. Washing hands, washing face, and just washing in general, maybe implying washing the body or clothes.
That repetition is interesting. We'll come back to that. What else for cleanliness?
Cleaning, the general term. Vacuuming, sweeping, mopping, specific ways of cleaning floors, usually.
Right, using particular tools. And personal hygiene.
Brushing hair, brushing teeth, bathing, all very routine actions for many people.
It shows the importance placed on these activities in daily life, that they warrant specific verbs frequently taught to beginners.
Makes sense. What about rest and sort of bodily stakes?
What's on the list there? Lying, as in lying down.
Yes, lying down. Sleeping, the state of rest. Snoring, the noisy accompaniment some people provide.
Haha, indeed. Breathing, the most fundamental action of all, perhaps. Continuous, essential.
Absolutely. Sneezing, coughing, involuntary actions often related to illness or irritation, shivering response to cold or fear.
So effects of voluntary rest, lying down, sleeping, and involuntary bodily responses. Again, covering the basic realities of having a body.
Okay, we've covered a lot of physical ground. What about mental activities? Does the list touch on that?
Well, the outline mentioned thinking. Is that explicitly listed with a sentence?
Yes, I am thinking. It's simple, but significant.
It is significant because, unlike all the others we've discussed, it's entirely internal. You can't directly observe someone thinking, only infer it. It's a different kind of action.
That's true. It's a mental process rather than a physical movement. And the sensory verbs we touched on earlier, smelling, feeling, seeing, listening, tasting, they sort of bridge the internal and external, don't they?
They do. They are our channels for receiving information from the external world into our internal consciousness. Feeling is interesting, too. It can mean physical touch. I feel the soft fabric, or emotion. I feel sad. Does the example clarify?
The outline doesn't specify the sentence used for feeling, but it's a good point about the dual meaning. It highlights ambiguity in language.
It does. Many verbs have multiple meanings, and context is key. So thinking and the sensory verbs cover the mental and perceptual side. What about leisure? Hobbies.
This is a fun category. The list seems quite rich here. Fishing, dancing.
Okay, classic hobbies. What else?
Playing football. Very specific sport. Drawing a picture, creative activity. Watching cartoons, passive leisure. Playing in the rain, maybe more spontaneous, childlike fun.
That's a nice image. Watching stars suggests quiet contemplation, maybe wonder. Playing with a toy car, playing with a kite, making a paper plane, building with blocks, these all feel quite geared towards children's activities.
They do. It fits with the beginner's aspect of the source video title, perhaps. Playing hide and seek, a classic children's game involving running, hiding, seeking. Playing guitar, learning, or performing music.
So quite a focus on play and structured games, especially those associated with childhood. It suggests action isn't just about work or necessity, but also about enjoyment and development through play.
Definitely. And then there are some that could be hobbies or maybe chores, depending, like sewing.
Right. Could be creative tailoring or just mending a hole out of necessity.
Shopping.
Same ambiguity. Could be enjoyable browsing or a necessary trip for groceries. Exercising usually a conscious choice for health or fitness, but can be enjoyable for some, a chore for others. That blurring is interesting. It shows motivation matters as much as the physical action itself, even if the verb is the same.
So true. Okay, what about work and contributing? Does the list cover that side of life?
The outline mentions verbs related to work and assistance. What examples are there? Working, the general term.
Yes, working. Then cooking, which we saw under daily activities, but is also a job for many. Cleaning the table, a specific chore.
Farming, a major type of work for many worldwide. Teaching, imparting knowledge, another profession.
Washing dishes, another common chore. Cutting paper could be craft, could be office work. Sweeping, we saw that under cleaning, but it's also a job.
Helping, a very general, positive social action, could be in any context. Selling related to commerce, jobs in retail or business.
So it touches on different kinds of labor, domestic, agricultural, educational, commercial, and just general assistance.
It provides a basic vocabulary for talking about common forms of work and chores, which is essential for everyday conversation.
Now, something the outline noted was implicit states of being. We talked about thinking being internal, but it mentions I am sleepy, leading to I am sleeping.
Okay. So the source itself sometimes pairs a state description, using an adjective, sleepy, with the related action verb, sleeping. That's quite instructive.
How so?
Well, it explicitly links how we feel or what state we're in, being sleepy, to the action we then take, sleeping. It shows the connection between internal states and external actions. I am hungry might lead to I am eating. I am cold might lead to I am shivering, or I am putting on a coat.
That makes the connection very clear for a learner. It's not just isolated actions, but actions often driven by states.
Precisely. It gives context and motivation to the actions.
Okay, another thing noted was repetition. We mentioned washing, appearing multiple times, hands, face closed perhaps, and eating too.
Yeah, the outline says eating cookies, eating ice cream, eating an apple, eating lunch, eating a burger. Why do you think the source does that? Just padding the list to get to 200?
Possibly. But maybe there's a pedagogical reason. Like showing the verb eat can be used with snacks, fruit, meals. It reinforces the verb's flexibility.
That's very likely, I think. For a beginner, seeing eat plus different foods helps solidify the pattern. Subject plus emissar plus eating plus object. It demonstrates collocation words that commonly go together.
That makes sense. Same with washing. Washing hands, washing face, washing dishes. It shows the core meaning of washing applied to different objects. It's efficient teaching.
It is, and it emphasizes common, high-frequency activities. We eat and wash things multiple times a day, so the repetition probably serves to drum in these essential verbs and their common uses.
And related to that, the outline stressed the use of the present continuous tense throughout I am verbing. What's the significance of that choice?
Well, the present continuous be plus verbing is often one of the first tenses learners tackle after the simple present. It's used for actions happening right now, at this moment, or around the present time, or for ongoing temporary actions.
So it makes the actions feel immediate and relevant. Look, I'm jumping. She's reading now.
Exactly. It's very visual and demonstrates the action in progress. It's often easier for beginners to grasp conceptually than the simple present, which can be used for habits or general truths. I walk to work, the sun rises. Focusing on the ing form gets them using verbs actively very quickly.
Okay, so it's a strategic choice for teaching beginners, makes the language come alive immediately.
I think so. It focuses on the dynamism of the verbs.
Now, we've touched on this multiple times, but the idea of contextual understanding. The sentences in the source are simple. I am eating cookies. But even so, context is implied.
Absolutely. Even simple sentences rely on a world of assumed context. And as we discussed, many verbs change meaning dramatically with context. You mentioned holding.
Right. I am holding hands versus I am holding a pen. Same verb, very different implications. One about connection, the other about simple possession or use.
Or running. I am running a race versus my nose is running versus I am running a company. Completely different meanings. The source list probably sticks to the most common physical meanings for beginners. But it's crucial to remember that verbs are often polysemous. They have multiple meanings.
That's a key takeaway for any language learner, isn't it? Don't just learn the verb, learn how it's used in different situations.
Essential. The simple sentences are a starting point, but fluency comes from understanding nuance and context.
So as we've been going through these categories, movement, communication, interaction, daily tasks, hobbies, work, it really paints a picture of, well, life.
It does. A simplified picture, perhaps, focused on common, observable actions, but it lays a foundation. Think about it. How many of these verbs have you, listening now, performed just today, or even in the last hour?
There's probably dozens, right? Waking up may be related to lying, sleeping, walking, washing, brushing teeth, eating, drinking, maybe reading, writing, emails, texts, speaking, listening, working, thinking.
Clicking, typing, scrolling, though those might be more modern additions, not necessarily in this specific beginner list. But yes, our day is a constant stream of actions.
How would you describe your morning using just verbs from this list, roughly?
Let's see. Waking, maybe stretching, related to bending, getting up, walking, washing face, brushing teeth, maybe showering, bathing, cooking, eating, drinking coffee, drinking, reading news, reading, perhaps listening to something. Thinking, definitely thinking.
It shows how fundamental they are. You can sketch out a whole sequence of events with just these action words.
You really can. They are the engine of narrative, the words that make things happen in our sentences and in our lives.
Okay, we've spent a good while unpacking this list and the concepts around action verbs. As we start to wrap up, what would you say is the main takeaway from this exploration?
For me, I think it's the incredible richness and efficiency of action verbs in English. Even a basic list like this, aimed at beginners, covers such a vast range of human experience, from the most basic biological functions to complex social interactions, work, and play.
Yeah, they really are the power words of the language, aren't they?
They are. They describe what we do, how we interact with the world and each other. And understanding their nuances, the subtle differences between walk and run, or speak and whisper, is key to both understanding others and expressing ourselves clearly and vividly.
It's interesting how focusing on something seemingly simple, like a list of verbs, can actually reveal so much about the structure of our lives and language.
Absolutely. It reminds us that language isn't just abstract rules, it's a tool forged by generations to describe lived reality. The verbs that exist, the ones taught early, they reflect what we prioritize, what's common, what's essential to communicate.
So maybe a final thought for you, the learner, to ponder after this deep dive. How does becoming more aware of the specific action verbs you use or could use change how you communicate?
That's a great question. Could choosing a more precise verb, say stride instead of walk, or murmur instead of speak, make your descriptions more impactful, more vivid?
Or even just noticing the sheer number of action verbs used in a conversation or a text you read. It might give you a fresh perspective on how we construct meaning and describe events.
A heightened awareness of the doing words, like that.
Well, this has been a really fascinating discussion, digging deep into the world of action verbs based on that English Queen list. Thank you for sharing your insights.
My pleasure. It's always interesting to dissect the building blocks of language.
And a huge thank you to you, the learner, for staying with us through this exploration. We hope you found it useful and maybe even sparked some aha moments about the English language.
I hope so.
And one last time, if you enjoyed this deep dive and want more content like this, please do subscribe to our channel, English Easy Here. It's the best way to support the show and make sure you don't miss future explorations.
Thanks again for listening, everyone.
Welcome to your deep dive. Today, we're going to be digging into a really interesting resource that you shared with us. It's a YouTube transcript from the English Easy Here channel. The video is called 50 English Vocabulary, Phrasal Verbs with Sentences, Listen and Practice.
That's the one. A great list to work from.
Absolutely. And if you find this deep dive helpful, definitely check out the English Easy Here channel and maybe, hit subscribe over there for more of their stuff.
Good idea. So our goal today, it's not just about running through definitions, is it?
No, not at all. We want to really unpack these phrasal verbs.
Yeah, we're looking at how these little combinations of words actually create meaning, why they're so fundamental if you want to understand English or, speak it more naturally.
Yeah. And digging into the nuances, too. Because sometimes they seem simple, but there's more going on.
Exactly. It's not just a vocabulary list. It's really sort of a key to unlocking more natural, more nuanced communication in English. This is a chance to get a solid grasp on them.
And looking at the list, it covers so much ground, doesn't it?
It really does.
From just like everyday stuff we do to more complex ideas or feelings.
That's what's striking. It shows just how woven into the fabric of the language these phrasal verbs are. You can't really avoid them.
Okay, well, let's dive in then. Where should we start? The list kicks off with movement, right? Getting around.
Yes, let's begin there. We've got two very basic, very foundational ones. Get on and get off. The transcript gives us examples like, please get on the bus, and I am getting on the bus. Pretty clear.
And the opposite, please get off the bus, I am getting off the bus.
Exactly. So in these cases, it's very literal, isn't it? Boarding a bus, leaving a bus.
Yeah, physical movement onto or off of a vehicle. But what's interesting about these, I mean, they seem simple, but is there more to on and off here than just buses?
Well, that's where it starts to get interesting. Think about the particles themselves, on and off, how they interact with the verb get. On often suggests attaching or joining something. So yes, you get on a bus, meaning you join it, you board it, but that idea extends, doesn't it? You can get on a train, get on a plane.
Any kind of larger transport where you step onto it?
Precisely. And then off signifies the reverse separation, departure. So you get off the bus, the train, the plane, you're separating yourself from it.
Right. Still fairly literal, though.
It is. But think about how that core idea of joining with on can become figurative, like getting on well with someone.
Oh, okay. So you're joining in a sense of harmony or good relations.
Exactly. You're connecting well. And similarly, with off, the idea of separation leads to things like getting off work.
You're separating from your work duties for the day.
Right. So these aren't in the source list we're using today, but they show how those particles, on and off, add these layers of meaning that take the verb get way beyond just hopping on a bus.
That's a really good point. It's like the particle steers the verb's meaning. Get is the engine. On or off is the steering wheel, kind of.
That's a nice analogy, yeah. It directs the action. It's not just two random words. They work together to create a specific meaning. Sometimes literal, sometimes figurative.
Okay, cool. Let's move on then. The next pair in the transcript is about clothes. Put on and take off.
Yes. Examples are, I have to put on my dress and put on new shoes, or put on your shoes.
Simple enough, adding clothes to your body.
Exactly. The particle on, again, suggests adding, placing onto.
And then take off is the opposite. He takes off his uniform. Removing clothing.
Correct. A clear contrast, add versus remove.
But then, the transcript immediately gives another example for takeoff. The plane will take off soon.
And that's a perfect illustration of versatility, isn't it?
Yeah. Because taking off a uniform and a plane taking off seem like totally different things. One's removing clothes, the other's starting a flight. What's the link?
The link is that core idea carried by the particle off, separation or initiation.
Okay. How so?
Well, when you take off your uniform, you're separating it from your body.
Right.
When a plane takes off, it's separating itself from the ground. It's initiating its journey by moving away from that fixed point.
Ah, I see. So off means away from in both cases, just in different contexts.
Precisely. Away from the body, away from the ground. It's this ability to carry both literal, physical meanings and more abstract or figurative ones that makes phrasal verbs so powerful, but also, well, sometimes tricky for learners.
Yeah, you have to understand the core idea of the particle, kind of.
It definitely helps. Understanding the common meanings of particles like on, off, up, down, in, out can provide a key to unlocking many phrasal verbs.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Right, next up, the mood changes a bit. We have throw up.
Yes. The examples are pretty direct. I threw up, and the dog may throw up on the rug.
Not much ambiguity there.
No, throw up is quite transparent. It means to vomit, to expel stomach contents. The particle up clearly indicates the direction of the action.
Yeah, definitely one where the literal meaning is the main one. You wouldn't really use that figuratively, or
No.
you'd hope not to.
Generally not, no. It's quite specific.
Okay, moving swiftly on something much nicer.
Yeah.
Look after. Examples. Can you look after her? And who looked after her?
This one conveys care, responsibility.
Yeah, it feels quite important.
It is. Look after means to take care of someone or something, to ensure their safety and well-being. The particle after here is interesting. It suggests sort of following someone's needs, attending to them.
Like you're watching after them.
Kind of, yes. It implies a level of supervision and responsibility, often over a period of time. It's not just a quick glance. It's sustained care.
Right. Okay. And then we have fill in examples. Fill in the blanks. And can you please fill in the form?
This one relates to completion, usually of information.
Like filling gaps.
Exactly. You're adding the necessary details to make something whole, whether it's a sentence with blanks or a document needing information. The particle in denotes putting something into those empty spaces.
So it's interesting. We went from throw up, which is quite, visceral,
Unpleasant.
to look after, which is about caring, and then fill in, which is about completing tasks. Quite a range just in those three. What does that tell us about phrasal verbs generally?
I think it really highlights their incredible scope and versatility in English. They aren't restricted to one type of action or one level of formality or, one emotional tone.
Yeah, they cover everything.
Pretty much. You can express something physical and immediate, like throw up, then shift to something involving long-term responsibility, like look after, and then to a simple task, like fill in. It shows how deeply embedded they are in the language.
They're like little building blocks for expressing all sorts of ideas concisely.
That's a perfect way to put it. They are fundamental building blocks, allowing for very specific, often very vivid ways to describe countless actions and experiences. It really underscores why you need to get comfortable with them to communicate effectively in English.
Definitely. Okay, changing gears again. The next pair is about searching and strengthening. First, look for.
Yes, examples. What are you looking for? And I'm looking for a cat.
Pretty clear trying to find something.
Exactly. Look for is the standard way to talk about searching. The particle for indicates the object or the target of your search effort. You're directing your looking towards finding something specific.
Right, and then we have workout, used as a noun or verb, it seems. Workout is good for body. Workout strengthens the body.
This refers to physical exercise, a session aimed at improving fitness or health.
And the particle out. What's its role here?
Out here often suggests exertion, like you're putting effort out or perhaps completing a full routine. Think of working out the muscles. It implies a dedicated period of physical activity leading to a result.
Okay, that makes sense. Exertion leading to fitness. Got it.
Oh.
All right, next, we hit a pair that seems to represent opposite mindsets almost. Go on and give up.
Yes, quite contrasting. For go on, the examples are, it goes on ringing and she goes on speaking.
So, continuation. Keep doing something.
Precisely. Go on means to continue an action or a state. The particle on strongly reinforces that idea of progression, of something not stopping. It can imply persistence.
Or sometimes annoyance.
Yeah.
Like the noise goes on and on.
Exactly. It can imply relentless continuation, whether it's wanted or unwanted.
Okay. And the flip side is give up. Examples.
Yeah.
They gave up without a fight. And simply, I give up.
Meaning to stop trying, to surrender, to abandon the effort.
Yeah, ceasing effort.
Here, the particle up often carries a sense of finality or completion, like the effort is finished, it's up.
So these two go on and give up. They feel like core responses to challenges, don't they? Continue or quit. Are there nuances beyond just those basic meanings?
Oh, definitely. There's a strong psychological element here. Go on can signify resilience, determination, pushing through difficulties. We admire someone who goes on despite setbacks.
Right, it can be very positive.
But as you said, it can also express frustration as something negative continues. He just goes on complaining.
Yeah, and give up. Is it always negative?
Often it implies defeat or resignation, which we tend to view negatively. Don't give up is common encouragement, but sometimes giving up is actually the wise choice.
How so?
Well, recognizing when an effort is futile, when continuing is causing more harm than good. Sometimes strategically giving up on one approach allows you to redirect energy elsewhere, so context is everything.
So it depends if you're giving up on a dream, which might be seen as sad, or giving up a bad habit, which is positive.
Exactly. Or giving up an argument that's going nowhere. The nuance comes from what you're giving up and why. The phrasal verb itself is neutral, but the context gives it its emotional weight. Encouraging someone with go on or don't give up shows how we use these to influence or support others.
That's a really useful distinction. Okay, next we're moving into communication styles. First, talk over.
Examples? Talk over problems, and did you talk over the matter?
This sounds like discussion, maybe problem solving.
Yes, generally, talk over implies a thorough discussion, often with the aim of resolving something, making a decision, or just understanding an issue better. The particle over suggests looking at the topic comprehensively from different angles, like you're going over the details.
Right, covering the ground. And then we have argue with.
Examples, don't argue with him, and it's not good to argue with him.
This one feels different, more like conflict, disagreement.
Correct. Argue with signifies a verbal disagreement, a clash of opposing views. It often involves trying to persuade the other person or prove them wrong. It implies friction.
So they both involve talking about something, but the feeling, the intent, is totally different between talking it over and arguing with someone. Can you expand on that difference?
Absolutely. It's a crucial distinction in communication. Talk over usually has a neutral or even positive vibe. It suggests a collaborative effort, people working together towards understanding or a solution. The intent is generally constructive.
Okay, aiming for resolution.
Right. Whereas argue with, well, that usually carries a negative connotation. It implies opposition, contention. Emotions might be higher, and the focus can shift from finding common ground to, frankly, winning the point.
Trying to prove you're right.
Exactly. The intent is often less about mutual understanding and more about asserting your own position. So the choice between talk over and argue with immediately signals the nature of the interaction and often its likely outcome.
That's really clear. One's collaborative, the other's combative, potentially.
Yeah.
Okay, next pair deals with blame and restraint. First, pin on.
Examples. He tried to pin on me, and you can't pin the blame on her.
So attributing blame, often unfairly, it seems?
Yes, that's the common implication. Pin on means to assign responsibility or blame to someone, and it frequently suggests that the attribution is unjust or maybe an attempt to scapegoat someone.
Like you're literally pinning the blame notice onto them.
Precisely. That visual image is quite strong, forcing something unwanted onto someone.
Okay. And then we have hold back. Examples. She tried to help back her tears, which I guess should be hold back.
Yes, I think hold back is definitely the intended phrase there, hold back her tears.
Right. And the other example, there's no holding him back. So this is about restraint or the lack of it?
Exactly. Hold back means to restrain, to suppress, to control. In the first case, it's about controlling emotions, tears, laughter, anger.
Internal control.
Yes. And in the second example, there's no holding him back. It refers to an inability or unwillingness to restrain someone else from doing something. It implies strong momentum or desire that can't be checked.
So it covers both self-control and trying to control others or situations.
It does. That single phrasal verb captures both the internal struggle to suppress something and the external effort to stop something from happening. Quite efficient, really.
Yeah, it is. Okay, next we're shifting into more serious, sensitive areas. Consciousness and life itself. First, blackout.
Examples. She blacked out today. And why did you black out?
This means losing consciousness, fainting.
Correct. Blackout refers to a temporary, often sudden loss of consciousness. The imagery is vivid, everything going dark.
Right, and then, related but much more final, pass away.
Examples. He had passed away by them, and her father passed away last week.
And this is clearly a euphemism for dying.
Precisely. Pass away is a very common, gentler alternative to the word die. It's often used to soften the blow or show respect in sensitive situations.
The word pass suggests like a transition.
Yes, exactly. A passing from one state to another, a departure, rather than the stark finality that die can sometimes convey.
It's quite striking, isn't it, how English uses these different phrasal verbs for such sensitive topics like fainting versus dying. What's the significance of having these variations? Why not just use simpler verbs?
Well, it speaks volumes about how language helps us navigate difficult and emotionally charged realities. Euphemisms like pass away are crucial social tools. They allow us to talk about death with sensitivity, showing respect for the bereaved and acknowledging the gravity without being overly blunt or harsh.
So it's about managing the emotional impact.
Largely, yes. Blackout focuses more on the physical experience of losing consciousness, which is serious but temporary. Pass away addresses the permanent loss of life in a way that cushions the language. The choice of verb reflects the speaker's awareness of the context, their relationship to the people involved, and the overall desired tone. It shows language adapting to our social and emotional needs.
That's a very thoughtful perspective. Language as a tool for navigating difficult emotions. Okay, let's move to the beginning of the day, a more routine topic. We have wake up and get up.
A classic pair often confused by learners. First, wake up. Examples. I usually wake up early, and waking up early is good.
This is about becoming conscious again after sleep.
Exactly. It's the moment your brain switches back on, you regain awareness of your surroundings, the transition from sleep to wakefulness.
And then get up. Examples.
Yeah.
Get up from the bed and mom asked me to get up.
This refers to the physical action of leaving your bed.
Right. Actually moving your body out of the horizontal position.
Precisely. You rise from the bed.
So can you just spell out that subtle difference again? Because you can wake up but not get up, right?
Absolutely. That's the key distinction. Wake up is the mental event regaining consciousness. You could wake up at, say, 7 a.m., but decide to lie in bed for another half hour, maybe reading or just thinking.
Okay.
Get up is the physical act that follows, or perhaps doesn't immediately follow. Getting up is when you physically move out of the bed to start your day's activities. So wake up, become conscious, get up, leave bed. 2 distinct steps.
Got it. Mental awareness versus physical action.
Clear.
Okay, next pair focuses on development and retrieval.
Yeah.
We have grow up.
Examples, they grew up well and the grown up now.
This refers to the process of maturing, becoming an adult.
Yes, it encompasses the whole journey from childhood to adulthood, physical growth, emotional development, learning social norms, all of it. It implies a long process over time.
Right, and then we have pick up, examples.
Yeah.
Pick her up and pick her up quickly.
This one means collecting someone, usually.
Like giving someone a ride.
Yeah. Often, yes. Collecting someone in a vehicle. Or it can mean lifting something from a surface, like pick up the book. But in these examples, it's about collecting a person. The particle up suggests lifting or gathering.
Okay. So growing involves a long process. Picking up is usually a quicker action of collecting.
Generally, yes.
All right. Our next set involves getting rid of things and escaping or chasing. First, throw away.
Examples. Don't throw him away, which sounds a bit odd, maybe metaphorical. And throw away the garbage.
Yeah, throw away the garbage. It's clear, discard it, get rid of it.
Exactly. Throw away means to dispose of something unwanted. The particle away clearly indicates removal from your presence or possession.
Don't throw him away might mean don't discard him as a friend or something like that.
Possibly, yes. Using it figuratively to mean rejecting or abandoning someone.
Okay, then run away. Examples. He tried to run away, and why did he run away?
This means to flee, to escape quickly, usually by running.
Escaping a place or maybe a difficult situation.
Correct. It often implies escaping danger, punishment, or some kind of unpleasantness.
And the last one in this group is make after. Examples. The police made after him, and he can make after her easily. Probably just make after her.
Yes, likely just make after her. This means to pursue or chase someone.
So the opposite of running away.
In a sense, yes. One is fleeing, the other is chasing after the person who is fleeing. It implies active pursuit with the aim of catching them.
Right, so discarding, fleeing, and pursuing. Quite dynamic actions. Okay, next we indulge a bit. Food. First, pig out.
Examples. Let's pig out today, and have you ever pie out, which I assume should be pigged out.
Yeah, pigged out. This sounds very informal, eating a lot.
Very informal, yes. Pig out means to eat a large quantity of food, often excessively, maybe greedily. The comparison to a pig makes the meaning pretty clear.
Definitely paints a picture. And then the more common, less judgmental one, eat out.
Examples.
Yeah.
We usually eat out, and I love eating out.
This just means eating at a restaurant, not at home.
Correct. To dine outside of one's home. The particle out signifies being away from home for the meal.
Simple enough. Okay, now for some less pleasant scenarios. Accidents and breakdowns. First, run over.
Examples. The truck ran over her, and my dog almost got run over.
A very serious one. Being hit by a vehicle.
Yes. To strike someone or something with a vehicle and pass over them. A dangerous and often tragic event.
Definitely. And then breakdown. Examples. The car broke down in the way, and the mobile has broken down.
This means to stop functioning, usually referring to machines or vehicles.
Yeah, your car stops working, your phone dies.
Exactly. It ceases to operate correctly. It can also be used figuratively, though, for a person having an emotional collapse, like she broke down in tears.
Mm.
But here, the examples are mechanical.
So a serious accident with run over, and the common frustration of something not working with breakdown. Phrasal verbs really do cover the spectrum, don't they?
They absolutely do, from life-threatening events to everyday annoyances.
Okay, next up, tidying and packing. First, clean up.
Examples. Clean up your room. And I need to change the cleanup. Maybe do the cleanup.
Yeah, probably do the cleanup.
Yeah.
This means tidying, making things neat.
Yes. To make a place tidy and free from mess or dirt, the particle up often implies completion or thoroughness in cleaning. Like you're not just wiping one spot, you're cleaning the whole area up.
Right. And then pack up. Examples. They packed up pan, went home, maybe, and went home.
Yes, packed up and went home seems likely. And he began packing up his things.
So putting things into bags or boxes, getting ready to leave.
Correct. Gathering your belongings together, usually to depart or move them. Again, up can imply gathering things together or completing the action of packing.
Okay. Tidying up and packing up. Next, destruction and recording.
Ah.
Tear up.
Examples. He tore it up, and the rabbit tore up all the papers.
Ripping something into pieces.
Exactly. To destroy something, usually paper, by ripping it into small fragments. Up emphasizes the destructive result, the state of being in many pieces.
Got it. And then write down, examples, write down the name, and you must write it now.
This means to record information in writing.
Making a note of something.
Yes, to ensure you don't forget it or to have a record. The particle down reflects the physical action of writing onto the paper.
Makes sense. Okay, now we're on the phone. Hang on.
Examples. Hang on, I'm not quite ready, and hang on for a second.
Meaning wait, right, especially on a call.
Yes, it's an informal way to ask someone to wait for a short time, very common in phone conversations.
And its counterpart, hang up. Examples. Don't hang up, and Mom hung up the phone.
Meaning to end the phone call.
By putting the receiver back or pressing the end call button.
Correct. Terminating the connection. The up historically relates to hanging the receiver up on the hook of older phones.
Ah, interesting origin. Okay, next section is about fire. The first one listed is, go on flames. That sounds a bit odd. Examples. The house went on flames and the car went on flames.
Yeah, that phrasing is definitely unusual. I strongly suspect the intended phrasal verb here is go on fire.
Go on fire, meaning to start burning.
Exactly. The house went on fire, the car went on fire. That's the standard expression for something igniting or beginning to burn. The transcript probably has a slight error there.
Okay, so we'll treat that as go on fire. And the next one is listed as put off fire. Examples. He put off the fire bravely, and it is not easy to put off fire. This also feels off. Doesn't put off mean postpone?
You're absolutely right. Put off means to postpone, or sometimes to discourage someone. It doesn't mean extinguish. The correct phrasal verb for extinguishing a fire is put out.
Ah, put out the fire. That sounds right.
Definitely. He put out the fire bravely. It is not easy to put out fire. That fits the context perfectly. Another likely transcription error in the source.
It really shows how changing just that one little word, the particle, completely changes the meaning, doesn't it? Put off versus put out.
It's a perfect example.
Right.
Crucial difference. So just to be clear for everyone listening, it should be go on fire for starting to burn and put out for extinguishing a fire.
Got it. Thanks for clarifying. Okay, next, holding and releasing. We have hold on, examples.
Hold on.
I'm almost ready, and hold on for a while.
Yes, similar to hang on, this means to wait.
Wait a moment.
Right. Or it can also mean to grip something tightly, like hold on to the railing.
Ah, okay. So wait or grip firmly.
Incorrect. Context tells you which meaning applies.
And then let go.
Yeah.
Examples. Let go the cat, and will you let it go?
This means to release your grip, to stop holding something or someone.
Release the cat. Or maybe release an idea or a grudge in the second example. Will you let it go?
Exactly. It can be literal, releasing something physical or figurative, meaning to stop dwelling on something, to move on from an issue or an emotion.
Okay, now into strong emotions. First, blow up. The transcript repeats the example. My dad blew up when he saw the bill.
Yes, this is the figurative use, while blow up can mean explode literally.
Like a bomb.
Right. Here, it means to suddenly become extremely angry, to lose one's temper explosively. The repetition in the source probably just emphasizes how common this figurative meaning is.
Yeah, a sudden burst of anger. And the opposite, perhaps. Calm down. Again, repeated examples. Calm down for a minute and listen to me.
Yes. This means to become less angry, less agitated, less excited. To regain composure.
To return to a peaceful state.
Exactly. We often tell people to calm down when they're upset or angry, like in the example.
Okay, anger and calmness covered. Next, interpersonal relationships, often difficult ones. First, let down. Repeated example. Don't let down your parents.
This means to disappoint someone.
Yeah.
By failing to meet their expectations or failing to do something you promised or they hoped for, it implies a failure of support or reliability. You haven't lived up to what they expected.
Disappointment. And then break up. Repeated example. I broke up with him because he was selfish.
This specifically refers to ending a romantic relationship.
Ending a partnership.
Yes. It signifies the termination of that close bond.
Okay. Disappointing someone versus ending a relationship. Got it. Next, some actions often done around the house. Chop up. Repeated example. I helped my mom by chopping up the veggies.
This means to cut something, usually food, into small pieces with a knife or similar tool.
Cutting vegetables, meat, etc.
Exactly. Preparing ingredients for cooking, typically. Up again suggests breaking something into smaller parts.
And then hand in. Repeated example. Kindly hand in the papers to him, probably just hand in.
Yes, hand in the papers. This means to submit something, like homework, a report, an application.
Giving it to someone in authority.
Usually, yes, to a teacher, a boss, an official, you're formally presenting it.
Okay. Chopping veggies, handing in papers. Next, we have actions that can be illegal or problematic. Break in. Repeated example. The thief broke in the house at midnight.
This means to enter a building illegally by using force.
Forcible entry, usually to steal something.
Correct. Breaking a lock, a window, etc. to get inside without permission.
And then act up. The transcript has a strange repetition here. They were afraid, they were afraid, they were afraid. Which doesn't seem like an example of act up.
No, that definitely looks like a transcription error. The example for act up seems to be missing or corrupted in the source.
Right. But what does act up usually mean?
It generally means one of two things. Either to misbehave. We often say children are acting up when they're being naughty or difficult.
Okay.
Or it can mean to malfunction, for a machine or maybe a part of the body to not work correctly. Like, my knee is acting up again, meaning it's painful or not functioning properly.
So misbehaving or malfunctioning.
Got it.
Even without the example, we know the meaning. Okay, the very last phrasal verb on the list is let out. Repeated example. Please let out the secret.
This means to reveal something that was supposed to be kept secret or confidential.
To disclose private information.
Exactly. It can also mean other things, like allowing someone or something to leave a place, like let the dog out. But in this context, with secret, it clearly means reveal.
Okay, wow, that was all 50 of them. We made it through the list.
We did. It's quite a journey through different aspects of English communication.
It really is. It's just amazing how these, often just two-word combinations, sometimes three, manage to convey such varied meanings.
And how essential they are. You really can't speak or understand natural, everyday English without having a good grasp of phrasal verbs.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
We've covered so much ground: literal actions, figurative meanings, emotions, instructions, descriptions.
From getting on a bus to breaking up with someone, from cleaning up a room to calming down. It's a huge range. And we saw how crucial the particle, that little word, like up, down, on, off, is in shaping the verb's meaning.
Yeah, changing the particle often changes everything. Put out versus put off was a perfect example.
Exactly. Hopefully this deep dive has helped you, the listener, get a clear picture of how these work and why they're so important. Mastering them really is key to communicating effectively.
Absolutely. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Consider just how many other everyday actions, feelings, ideas we must express using these dynamic little combinations. What other fundamental building blocks of English are just waiting to be unpacked like this?
That's a great thought to end on. Language is this vast, intricate system, and understanding components like phrasal verbs really opens up new levels of comprehension and fluency. It's a continuous journey of discovery.
It really is. Well, a huge thank you to everyone who stayed with us through this entire exploration of phrasal verbs. We really appreciate you investing your time to learn alongside us today.
Yes, thank you for listening.